3, 2, 1. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Simple Learning 101 tutoring video. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about electron orbitals or electron shells. Sometimes they're even worded together, orbital shells. But before we begin, we kindly ask for you to hit that like and subscribe button so that we can bring you more tutoring videos just like this one. Also, don't forget to share this video with your family and friends as they too might need help in their learning. 2, 1. In this lesson, we're going to dive deeper into an atom by focusing on electrons and their orbital shells. This diagram right here shows an atom. It's a general atom, no specific atom to talk about right now, but the concept will be the same for all atoms. So, inside or in the middle of the diagram, we will find our protons and neutrons for this particular atom. We can also call this center the nucleus of the atom. And around the protons and neutrons, we can see gray circles. These are just imaginary circles that we as scientists put on the diagram to show us where electrons will be. For now, we're only going to put 3 shells or 3 orbitals, and each one of these shells get bigger in diameter as we move farther and farther away from the middle of the diagram. Each gray circle is called an electron orbital or an electron shell. Think of it as a path the moon takes around the Earth, or how all the 8 planets in the solar system move around the sun. You have Mars, which takes a small path, let's say the first circle, and then you have Saturn, which takes a bigger path around the sun or the middle. Now each shell has a number as its name. Each shell has a number as its name. Let's see them. The innermost shell, the one closest to the proton and the neutron or the nucleus, we'll call electron shell number 1 or shell 1 to make it easier for us to remember. The second innermost shell right here is shell number 2. The third one is shell number 3. And if we had more shells, we'd go on 4, 5, 6. Each shell can hold a maximum number of electrons. This means that at any given point, the first electron shell can hold n number of electrons, while the second electron shell can hold more electrons, and the third shell holds even more electrons than shell number 1 and 2. There's actually an equation we need to know to determine how the maximum number of electrons in each orbital shell can hold. Let's look at it. Please note that this row equation is only good for every single atom or element in the periodic table of elements, not for isotopes, which you can look at isotopes by clicking on the card above or by looking at the link below. The equation for the maximum number of electrons per shell is 2 times n squared, when n is the number pertaining to the shell. So, we know that the maximum number of electrons per shell are 3, 2, 1. So, we know that the maximum number of electrons per shell is equal to 2 times n squared. Now, where n equals a number pertaining to the shell. So for the first shell, or n equals 1, we put in 1 for n, and we get 2 times 1 squared, which is 2 electrons. So only 2 electrons can fit inside that first shell. For the second shell, we plug in 2 for n, and we get 2 times 2 squared, and the answer is 8 electrons. So for all second shells, we get a maximum occupancy of 8 electrons. So For the third shell, n equals 3, we put in 3 into n, and our value is 2 times 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 2 is 18 electrons. So 18 electrons is the maximum occupancy within this shell. So now that we know the location of electrons as we increase the atomic element numbers in the periodic table, in future videos we will be able to understand how the position of electrons in an orbital shell can cause chemical reactions to occur, but this will be in future videos. Here, we already see all the electrons plugged into each shell, and it holds the maximum number of electrons that it can fit. You can have less electrons, but you cannot have more electrons per shell. So again, shell number 1 can hold 2 electrons, shell number 2 can hold 8 electrons, shell number 3 can hold 16 electrons only. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if at any point you got confused, just stop, rewind, and replay this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Click on the video list and playlist to see all our content. Remember, you're never too old to learn. See you next time.